Peace. Welcome to another episode of Akashic Sketches by the God, the Intuitive Hand. And today we're going to be diving into thought forms. You know, what thought forms look like and appear like, and exactly where they come from, and how to distinguish positive from negative thought forms. What do they look like? So as I'm in my meditative state at this time, as I'm drawing simultaneously, the thought forms are coming to me as very, very tiny specks of consciousness from different sizes, from very, very tiny to medium size to big to probably as big as planets themselves. Thought forms are based off of frequency. So if we can look and study frequency, frequency comes in shapes. Frequency reveals itself in various shapes and patterns. That's a frequency. Some thought forms operate on frequencies that look like that. Some thought forms vibrate on frequencies that look more like this. Some thought forms operate on frequencies that are more sporadic. Here, there, straight line. Then they may go into a different pattern. Straight line, back to chaos again. So if we're looking at the thought forms and we're feeling how they come to us and seeing what energy looks like, based off becoming familiar with what energy looks like, we can begin to assess what type of thought forms come from what types of frequencies. Now, here we have very tiny specks of consciousness. Almost like how it's coming to me, it looks like constellations of stars, groups and clusters of stars. Like how when you look at the Milky Way galaxy, and it looks like these clusters of stars that obviously look like milk, which is why it's referred to as the Milky Way. But when you look at it, I mean, you see all of these clusters. And how it's coming to me is that consciousness looks the same way. Consciousness is the basic material that formulates thoughts. And within these thoughts that are based off of frequencies, we have certain frequencies inhabiting the thought. This is the thought form, and within the thought form is a frequency. It's a vibration inside of the frequency, inside of the thought form. It might have multiple frequencies in unison in one thought form. They might be operating as a team, and they formulate a whole different, very unique type of frequency that dictates the shape that this thought form is going to now operate on. So the thought form, by being made up of these types of frequencies, the thought form may go from being circular in motion to being triangular in motion. Now maybe the thought form is now evolving into structure. It now has, the thought form has now evolved into a plan. So yes, it's still a thought form, but now the thought form has gone beyond just the original frequency, and it has become a little bit more complex. And the complexity of the thought form now adds length, width, and depth to be manifested in the third dimension. And the length, width, and depth could be the time that one wants to get this thing completed, the trajectory, timeline, deadline. And so now the thought form changes shape based upon the new additives that have been given to the thought form. And now the thought form is now operating in a different frequency. So it has now changed the way that it looks. And so as that continuously happens, thought forms begin to continuously evolve. Now the thought itself stems from frequency. And we know that frequency is a vibratory rate. The frequency, how fast or slow is this thing vibrating at? The vibration level, oscillating back and forth. Vibration is the oscillation back and forth. So when we look at colors and shapes are frequencies that are vibrating at different rates. That's why they appear to the eye as different colors. That's why the shapes appear to the eye to be a different shape, because it's vibrating at a certain frequency. Now, before it gets to the third dimension, to our physical eye, we are examining what it looks like in the astral. We're examining what it looks like in the mind before it reaches the physical plane. And so we're studying the energy. Now, what determines the color is the nature of the thought, the frequency of the thought. And ultimately, we have positive and negative. And from positive to negative, we're going to have degrees from positive and degrees from negative. So within these degrees, within the degrees, things can vary. They vary from here to here, and they can vary from here to here, and they ultimately can vary from the totality, going back and forth from positive to negative and from negative back to positive. So you have all of this range in between here of various degrees that the thought can vibrate on. And so when we have these frequencies now come over to formulate. These frequencies now come over to formulate a thought, and the thought begins to take shape. That's a thought form. whatever, that could be a thought form. Basic, without any shapes, without any dimensions, thought form. Thought form. Thought form. Thought form. Even when you look at letters, letters are different shapes. A. What is the energy and the frequency of an A? By it being in that particular shape. What is the thought form vibration of the letter O by it being in this shape? You know, how does the energy of O feel? How does it sound? How does it vibrate? The energy coming off the letters, because letters are in different shapes. See, everything that has shape, color, any type of manifestation characteristic to it, that's an energetic signature, expressing itself in the form of colors and shapes, sizes, length, width, and depth here. See, this is all energy study. What does the energy look like? Now, the shape goes from just two-dimensional to third-dimensional because of the nature of the complexity of the thought and the accumulation of the thought. Before it's language, it's form. Before it's language, it is form. The various sounds when we listen to music. Music in and of itself is a good depiction of how energy is manifesting itself sonically. When you deal with art, art shows you visual art. Art shows you how the energy is manifesting itself through colors and shapes and depictions. But it's all still a manifestation of the same thing, which is, again, energy. This is what energy looks like as it comes to me. This is how my third eye registers what energy looks like. And as the energy shapes and molds itself and reveals itself, it also reveals its nature. And so you can be able to look at something, hear something, touch something, and be able to distinguish the energies that are coming from it and the energies that come from within it. And you can have a good read on the nature of the energy that you're interacting with or dealing with. Because remember, the universe itself is comprised of energy. Everything is energy. Everything. And so within everything being energy, us being able to read energy becomes very, very valuable, because that is the only thing here really that is the only thing really in this universe to read is energy. Now, the energy may come in the form of a book with words on it, but those words are depictions of energy. That's all a word is. A word is describing an energetic phenomena that is to take place or that is taking place. but it's encapsulated in the form of a word. And words have sounds and vibration, aka that's when we start getting into spelling. You know, what does the energy shooting right through it? It's in the line, it's in the band. So if we was looking at an energy like this looks like a very, very chaotic energy. It's got this red line shooting through it, almost like tension. And then you got all these knots and ridges. It's not a straight line. That would indicate possibly more cohesion and harmony if it was like this. But since you got all these twists and wounds, it's like very, very chaotic, tense, and stressed energy that we can take away from just this energetic band here. And this gives us a great deal into what emotions look like. You know, what an emotion could look like as we study emotions. What do they look like? We can almost, you know, as we continue this study, we can begin to see emotion from the energetic realm before it hits the person, before it gets to the personality. What does the energy of the emotion look like? What does the energy of happiness look and feel like? What does the energy of sadness look and feel like in the metaphysical realm before it gets to the physical realm? What does the energy of sadness, the energy of anger, the energy of impatience, what does the energy of confidence look like? What do all of these various mental and emotional states look like? And as it comes to me in my meditation of going within and allowing my mind to tap into the universe, this is what it is shown to me that energy looks like. And so as we dive further into ourselves and we trust what's coming to us, because you got to understand different parts of the mind. You have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and they perform two different functions. But to tap into the intuition, we also have that part of the mind that needs to be explored. And it is great information and valuable knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that lies there. But we have to put the conscious mind aside in order to tap into those higher realms or deeper realms of within in order to find the answers that we're looking for. And so, yep, this is a depiction of what the thought forms look like as they come to me in my meditative practice. And hey, let's continue to practice and work on our psychic abilities for the intuitive mind, and being able to tap into those spaces within us is where we're going to